Have you ever wondered why silence can sometimes speak louder than any word or confrontation? Why, when you suddenly disappear, it feels like the world you once knew starts to shift, not just around you, but deep inside the minds of those you left behind? Many fall into the trap of thinking that to be heard, to matter, they must shout louder, prove themselves harder, chase relentlessly. But what if I told you that the loudest message you'll ever send is not in the noise, but in the quiet? What if your disappearance, your deliberate silence, is not an absence, but a force that rewires their very thoughts, flipping their assumptions and control upside down? This is not about games or manipulation. This is stoicism applied to relationships, stoic relationships that demand discipline, presence, and mastery of self above all else. Too often, people misunderstand silence as weakness or indifference, falling prey to the misconception that only constant engagement equals value. But that's a dangerous lie, one that keeps you locked in cycles of chasing and proving, feeding the ego-driven drama that keeps both parties trapped. Today, we're going to unravel the truth behind silence and its transformative power over the human mind. You will learn how, day by day, your quiet withdrawal initiates an emotional and psychological chain reaction inside their head, a rewiring that forces them to confront their doubts, fears, and assumptions. You'll discover why your silence doesn't make them forget you. It makes them think about you in ways they never expected. And here's the kicker. This is about reclaiming your power without saying a single word. Are you ready to uncover the hidden mechanics of silence and wield it as your most potent tool? This isn't just theory. This is a blueprint for those who dare to rise above noise and distraction and embody the strength of stoicism in their relationships. Stay with me, because by the end of this, your entire approach to connection, control, and self-worth will never be the same. The journey begins now. Let's dive into how silence rewires their mind after you disappear. Day one, the illusion of control. On the very first day of your silence, the mind of the one you left behind remains caught in the comforting illusion that everything is still within their grasp. They have yet to feel the weight of your absence, their thoughts still basking in the warm glow of your recent presence, like the fading sun holding on before the darkness settles in. It is natural for the human brain to seek patterns and certainty. It craves stability in relationships as a survival mechanism. So when you suddenly withdraw, the immediate reaction is denial, not panic. Their ego, that fortress of false confidence, assures them that this silence is temporary, a pause in the usual rhythm that will soon be restored. Why wouldn't it? They expect you to come back like clockwork, as you always did before, because that is the story their mind insists on believing. The illusion of control at this stage is powerful, too powerful for many to see past without a moment of reckoning. They might tell themselves that you're busy, distracted, or simply giving space, reinforcing their narrative that you still belong to their world. But here's the silent power you wield. Even though they haven't felt the full impact yet, the seed of doubt has been planted. This is the beginning of a mental rewiring that Stoicism highlights, recognizing that external events are outside your control, but the power lies in how you respond and what you allow to shape your inner world. They are blind to the shift because their ego convinces them that you are still the one in control, that your silence is a temporary game you will lose first. This misplaced confidence breeds complacency, making them wait without urgency, checking their phone casually, expecting the cycle to resume. Yet beneath this veneer of calm, a crack forms. The human mind is not designed to sustain this tension for long. It whispers uncomfortable questions. What if this silence isn't just a pause? What if it's permanent? Could it be that the control they thought they had was only an illusion? These questions are the first tremors in the earthquake, your silence. initiates. At this stage, many misunderstand silence as indifference or weakness, believing that by withdrawing you either don't care or are too fragile to maintain distance. This is a misconception rooted in a misunderstanding of Stoicism and Stoic relationships, where true strength is measured not by outward action, but by mastery over one's own emotions and desires. The courage to remain silent in the face of uncertainty is one of the highest forms of strength, a refusal to be driven by the need for validation or control. This quiet power disrupts their expectations and forces them to confront a reality they never prepared for. The possibility that you are not theirs to command, that your presence was not a guarantee, but a gift they took for granted. Have you ever noticed how the brightest candle is ignored in the daytime, but becomes the sole light in darkness? That's exactly what your silence is. When you were present, you were the background noise, the familiar hum of routine. But the moment you disappear, you become the focus, the one light in the void. And yet on day one, they do not see it. They still cling to the comforting lie that they hold the upper hand. This is the critical moment where you begin to rewrite the script of your relationship without uttering a single word. The balance of power starts to shift internally in their mind. While their ego maintains the illusion that you will return, that they are in control, the truth is settling deep beneath the surface. The silence is a mirror reflecting not just your absence, but their own insecurities, fears, and doubts that have been ignored. What does it say about the nature of power in relationships when the absence of your voice can unsettle the strongest? Ego? What does it reveal about your own value when your silence commands more attention than your presence ever did? This moment calls for discipline, not just theirs, but yours as well. You might feel the urge to break the silence, to send a message, to test if they've noticed, to remind them of your existence. But that would undo the invisible work your quiet withdrawal has already begun. It takes the highest form of courage to resist the pull of validation, to hold your ground in the storm of your own mind. This is where Stoicism teaches us that true freedom is found not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. Day one is about planting the seed of uncertainty while maintaining your composure. It's about understanding that silence is not passive, but active. It is a deliberate act of self-respect and power. They may not yet feel the loss, but your silence is already rewiring the circuits of their mind, creating cracks in the foundation of their certainty. This process is uncomfortable for both sides, but it is necessary. It exposes the fragile assumptions that held the relationship's dynamics together. The question remains, are they ready to face the truth of your absence? Are you ready to stand firm as the storm brews beneath their calm? On day one, the illusion of control is both their shield and their weakness. They cling to the past patterns because uncertainty is terrifying, but your silence is the catalyst for change, a change that neither of you can ignore. The silence you hold is your power. It's the light in the dark that will reveal who truly values you and who only values the comfort of your presence. This is the beginning of the journey, the first step in transforming not only how they see you, but how you see yourself within the context of Stoic relationships and Stoicism as a philosophy of inner strength and emotional resilience. Are you willing to hold that power, to let silence do the work words cannot? Because that is where the real transformation begins. To day two, the first ripple of uncertainty. On the second day of your silence, the quiet you initiated begins to unsettle their once steady mind, not yet with panic, but with the first subtle ripple of uncertainty that disturbs the surface of their confidence. Unlike day one, where denial was their refuge, now the absence you created starts to feel less like a pause and more like a question mark hanging heavy in the air. an unresolved tension that the mind cannot ignore. Humans are wired to crave predictability. Our brains rely on patterns to maintain a sense of safety, and when those patterns are broken, the mind instinctively searches for answers, even when it must face uncomfortable truths. Have you ever wondered why silence can feel like a storm brewing quietly beneath calm waters? This is the moment where that storm begins to stir. The old rhythm, once steady and predictable, the constant messages, the availability, the attention, has stopped. It's no longer a gentle lull, but a distinct void that screams louder than any words ever could. The thought creeps in. Why haven't they texted? Why haven't they called? But their pride, that stubborn guardian of ego, keeps them from reaching out, from admitting the growing discomfort that gnaws at their sense of control. They convince themselves it's just a matter of time before the silence breaks, before you return to the familiar dance where they feel safe again. Yet beneath these rationalizations lies a small but persistent doubt, like a spiderweb trembling in a breeze, subtle, almost invisible, but undeniably there. This is the power of your silence in motion. It disturbs their mental equilibrium. Without a single word, setting off a cascade of internal questions that shake the very foundation of their assumptions. How long can a mind cling to certainty when the evidence before it is absence? How much longer will they pretend that the silence is nothing more than a temporary withdrawal? In Stoic relationships, this phase is crucial. It is the first real test of your strength and their resilience. The human ego hates uncertainty. It thrives on control and predictability, yet it is powerless in the face of deliberate silence. This day marks the moment when the psychological rewiring begins in earnest, not by confrontation or argument, but by quiet absence. Their mind starts to vibrate with conflicting signals. On one hand, the ego shouts, "They'll be back. They always are." On the other, a quieter, more vulnerable voice wonders, what if they're not? This internal conflict is the birthplace of transformation. It forces them to begin questioning not just your absence, but their own assumptions about the relationship and their role within it. Have they taken you for granted? Were they truly aware of your value, or just comfortable with your constant presence? These questions, though unspoken, begin to echo louder with each passing hour. The ego may still shield them from the full weight of these thoughts, but the cracks are forming. This moment is also where you confront your own temptations. The urge to break the silence, to reach out just to check, to remind them of your existence. It is real and strong. But remember, in Stoicism, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Holding your silence requires the mastery of your impulses and the confidence to let time and space do their work. Are you willing to resist the call to validation and embrace the power of stillness? This is the discipline that separates those who master Stoic relationships from those who fall back into patterns of chasing and proving. Imagine the silence you hold as a tightrope stretched over a vast canyon. Any premature movement could break the balance, but steady, unwavering focus allows you to cross safely while the other side watches in awe and uncertainty. On day 2, their mind starts testing the waters. They may scroll through old messages, glance at your social media with more intent, search for signs that you're still present in some way. They might even toy with the idea of sending a message but retreat, their pride holding them back from exposing their vulnerability. This hesitation reveals their growing internal battle between the desire for control and the fear of losing it. It is in this tension that your silence exerts its greatest influence. You have become the unpredictable force that disrupts their expectations and forces them to face their dependence on your presence. What does it mean when the person who once seemed so certain now hesitates, questions, and wonders? It means the Power dynamic is shifting slowly but inexorably, and your silence is the catalyst. The human mind despises ambiguity, yet it is forced to live in it now. As their thoughts churn, they may post cryptic messages, subtle social media updates, or indirect hints designed to draw you out. These are bait, an attempt to elicit a response, to regain control through the illusion of engagement. But the wise hold firm, knowing that responding would only reinforce the cycle of dependency and distraction. This day also invites you to reflect on your own growth through Stoicism. It is easy to fall back into old habits, to seek reassurance or break the silence out of loneliness or uncertainty. But the strength of Stoicism lies in accepting discomfort without surrender, and in knowing that true power comes from within, not from external validation. Are you ready to embody this strength? To let silence be your loudest message? As the ripple of uncertainty spreads, remember that you are not causing harm, but creating space for clarity, for truth, for genuine self-worth. You are teaching not through words, but through presence and absence, showing that your value is not a commodity to be traded or proven, but a constant anchored in your own integrity. This is the heart of Stoic Relationships, where the foundation is built on respect for oneself and others, not on the frantic pursuit of approval. So as day 2 closes, the questions remain. How long will they cling to their illusion? How deeply will they feel the crack in their certainty? And most importantly, how firmly will you hold your silence as the first ripple of uncertainty turns into waves? If this journey resonates with you, if you see the power of silence unfolding in your own life, I invite you to like this video and comment number 1 if you find this message valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and join the community committed to mastering Stoicism and Stoic relationships through real, transformative practice. Together, we'll explore how discipline, presence, and silent power can reshape your connections and your inner world. Day 3, Discomfort and Mental Unraveling. On the 3rd day of your silence, the intangible presence of your absence transforms into a palpable force that infiltrates their mind with discomfort, challenging their mental and emotional defenses like a subtle but relentless tide, eroding a once solid shore. This day marks a turning point where the silence ceases to be mere background noise or an easily dismissible gap, and instead becomes an undeniable presence, a heavy weight in the silent spaces where your voice once echoed. Their mind, which so far has oscillated between denial and uneasy speculation, begins to unravel as it confronts the stark reality of your withdrawal. Have you ever noticed how a single clock stopping in a room full of ticking clocks disrupts the entire rhythm, creating an unsettling silence that can't be ignored? This is exactly what happens within their thoughts. The steady beat of your interaction has faltered, and the resulting void disorients them. The rhythm they depended upon, the predictable presence that gave them comfort and security, is now broken, replaced by a silence that demands attention. They no longer have the luxury of dismissing your absence as temporary or unimportant. It seeps into every corner of their awareness, forcing questions they had long avoided. Why haven't they said anything? Are they truly pulling away? Is there someone else filling the space they once occupied? These are not just intellectual questions, but emotional tremors shaking their sense of certainty. The discomfort is no longer subtle. It begins to manifest as a restless tension that infiltrates their waking thoughts and haunts the quiet moments before sleep. This is the psychological unraveling that your silence initiates, a dismantling of the mental structures that once framed their understanding of the relationship. They begin replaying past conversations, dissecting every word, every look, every interaction, searching desperately for clues, signs, or missed warnings. But The answers elude them because the truth lies not in what was said, but in what is now left unsaid. This silent absence becomes a mirror reflecting their own fears and insecurities. It exposes the cracks in their confidence and challenges the ego's comforting narratives. Stoicism teaches us that external events cannot harm us unless we allow them to disturb our inner tranquility. Yet in this moment, their inner tranquility is shattered not by your words or actions, but by the space you have chosen to create. It is a test of their emotional resilience and of your own discipline. While they struggle with discomfort, the temptation for you to break the silence intensifies. The urge to seek reassurance, to remind them you are still there, can feel overwhelming. But remember, Stoicism calls for mastery over impulses and desires. True strength lies in enduring discomfort without surrendering to it. This is the point where many falter, unable to withstand the pull of old patterns that equate engagement with value. But if you hold firm, your silence becomes a powerful teacher. It forces them to confront their own assumptions and feelings. Without the safety net of your presence, they might attempt to bait you through social media posts, cryptic quotes, or subtle gestures designed to provoke a response. These are acts of vulnerability, masked by pride, signals sent into the void, hoping for acknowledgement. But responding to these would only validate their control over your emotions and reset the cycle of dependence. Instead, your continued silence holds the space for truth to emerge. This day also calls for deep reflection on your part. How does it feel to wield silence as a tool of transformation? Are you willing to embrace the discomfort that comes with breaking free from old patterns of seeking external validation? Stoicism reminds us that the only thing truly within our control is our own mind and actions. By mastering your silence, you reclaim your power not through words, but through presence, absence made potent by intention. The mental unraveling they experience is part of a larger process of growth, both theirs and yours. It strips away illusions and forces a reckoning with reality as it is, not as it was hoped to be. Are you prepared to face this process with courage and steadfastness? The discomfort that settles in their mind is the precursor to transformation. It signals that your silence is no longer a simple absence, but a profound force reshaping their thoughts and feelings. This is the moment when curiosity begins to shift into deeper emotional engagement, often accompanied by anxiety and obsession. Yet, it is not your silence that creates chaos, but their own mind attempting to fill the void with meaning. In this space, Stoic relationships reveal their true nature, where value is not measured by constant interaction, but by the strength to endure absence without collapse. You become the unshakable candle in the dark, not consumed by the winds of uncertainty, but illuminating the space with steady light. As day 3 closes, the stakes rise. The internal battle within their mind intensifies, and your own discipline is tested like never before. This is no longer a game of waiting. It is a crucible forging new understanding and new power dynamics. Will they step into this discomfort to face the truth, or retreat into denial? Will you maintain your silence as a beacon of self-respect, or falter under the pressure of old habits? The answers to these questions shape not only the future of your relationship, but your own journey toward emotional mastery. This day reminds us that silence, far from being passive or weak, is an active force demanding courage and resilience. It is a tool of transformation that, when wielded with intention and discipline, rewires the mind and reshapes the soul. Are you ready to hold this space, to endure the discomfort, and to let silence speak louder than any words ever could? This is the essence of Stoicism applied to relationships, a practice of inner strength, clarity, and unyielding presence amid uncertainty. The unraveling mind is not a sign of defeat, but the beginning of awakening, where the true value of silence reveals itself in the quiet storms of thought and feeling. 4. Days 4 to 5. The cracks spread into gaps. As you hold your silence through days 4 and 5, what began as subtle ripples in their mind evolves into widening cracks that threaten to fracture the foundation of their certainty and control. The quiet that once felt like a temporary interruption now screams louder than ever, echoing through every idle moment, every glance at a silent phone, every unanswered thought. This phase marks a profound shift where the ego's narratives begin to collapse, unable to sustain the illusion that everything is still under their command. They find themselves caught in a growing emotional dissonance, a battle between pride and fear, between the comforting stories they tell themselves and the harsh truth revealed by your absence. Have you noticed how even the smallest fractures in glass, left unattended, spread into irreparable breaks? This is exactly what happens in their mind. The cracks you planted through your silence widen into gaps that expose the vulnerability beneath the facade of control. No longer able to dismiss the silence as a minor inconvenience or a brief pause, they begin to feel the pressure mounting, the unbearable tension of losing something they never realized was so precious until it was slipping away. Their pride, once a dam holding back waves of uncertainty, now threatens to burst. They check their phone more frequently, often without conscious awareness, hoping for a sign, a message, any indication that the silence will end. Yet, every unanswered notification tightens the grip of anxiety and doubt. The unspoken questions multiply. Are they truly gone? Did I take them for granted? Was I ever really important? These questions are the fractures that reveal the depth of their emotional unraveling. Meanwhile, your silence remains steadfast, a calm ocean beneath a stormy sky, vast and unyielding. This is the power of stoicism in relationships, embracing discomfort with unshakable composure, and knowing that true strength is revealed not through noise, but through stillness. It is here that many falter, tempted by the urge to fill the gaps with words, explanations, or reassurances. But Stoic wisdom teaches that such reactions often serve only to reset the cycle of dependency and uncertainty, giving others control over your peace of mind. Instead, holding the line in silence signals a profound shift. It teaches that your value is not contingent upon constant validation or engagement, but rooted in your own integrity and self-respect. This is the moment where your absence becomes a presence that cannot be ignored, a presence that demands reckoning. Their mental patterns, once predictable and comfortable, shatter under the weight of unpredictability. The certainty they clung to dissolves, replaced by a restless need for answers they cannot provide themselves. Have you ever seen how a dam, when cracks form, allows water to seep through slowly at first, then with increasing force until the entire structure threatens collapse? The pressure in their mind builds similarly, at first manageable, then overwhelming, as the truth sinks deeper. They may attempt to regain control through subtle actions, posting on social media, sharing cryptic quotes, or reaching out indirectly. These are tests, bait cast into the void, hoping to provoke a response. Yet the wise understand that responding to such provocations only reinforces the old patterns and diminishes the power of silence. Instead, Stoic relationships require the discipline to resist these triggers, to hold firm amid the emotional tempest. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting not just your absence, but their own unresolved fears and desires. It forces them to confront the uncomfortable reality that their control was always an illusion, dependent on your presence rather than your true value. This stage is also a crucible for your own growth. Are you prepared to endure the discomfort, of standing alone amid the chaos of their unraveling thoughts? Can you embrace the uncertainty without seeking immediate reassurance? Stoicism teaches us that the only true power lies in mastering ourselves, our responses, our emotions, and our attachment to outcomes. By maintaining your silence, you reclaim this power and demonstrate the highest form of respect for both yourself and the other person. As days 4 and 5 unfold, the emotional dissonance they experience is a sign of transformation, not defeat. It signals the dismantling of old narratives and the painful birth of new understanding. The cracks in their certainty become openings for clarity, self-reflection, and potentially growth. But this can only happen if you hold the line. To break the silence now would be to reset the clock, to give away the power you have so carefully built. Your silence is not emptiness. It is the loudest message you can send, a testament to your self-worth and discipline. The question remains, will you stand firm as the pressure mounts and the cracks spread? Will you let silence become your strength, your voice, your shield? Or will you succumb to the temptation to fill the gaps with noise and distraction? This is the test of Stoic relationships, where true connection is forged not through constant chatter, but through the steady, unyielding presence of self-mastery. As the cracks widen into gaps, the choice is yours. If this message resonates, if you recognize the power of silence in your own journey, I invite you to like this video and comment number 1 if you find value in these insights. Don't forget to subscribe to join our growing community dedicated to mastering Stoicism and Stoic relationships. Together, we'll continue to explore how silence, discipline, and inner strength can transform your connections and your life. 5. Days 6 to 7, fear creeps in. As the silence stretches into days 6 and 7, what once was discomfort and doubt evolves into something far more profound and unsettling: fear. This is the stage where the cracks and gaps that have spread through their mind begin to manifest as shadows lurking in the corners of their consciousness. Fear is a powerful emotion, often misunderstood, often denied, but in this moment, it becomes the raw, undeniable force driving their thoughts and feelings. They are no longer simply uncertain or anxious. They are confronted with the terrifying possibility that what they assumed would always be there, the steady presence, the assured connection, might actually be gone. Have you ever held sand tightly in your hand, convinced it was secure, only to watch it slip slowly through your fingers until nothing remains? That image perfectly captures the experience of those left behind as your silence deepens. Their grip on the relationship weakens with every passing moment, and the tighter they try to hold on, the more it slips away. This is the paradox of fear. It both compels and paralyzes, makes them want to reach out and simultaneously freezes them in place. The ego, once so loud and confident, begins to falter. Its usual defenses, denial, rationalization, pride, start to crumble beneath the weight of this new, raw emotion. Fear exposes vulnerability in a way no amount of words or logic can mask. It is a shadow that follows them relentlessly, even as they pretend not to notice. Behind the facade of social media, posts and casual conversations, their mind is a battlefield where hope and despair clash. They check their phone obsessively, each notification a potential lifeline or a devastating disappointment. The silence you maintain amplifies the sound of their own thoughts until it becomes deafening. This is the power of your quiet absence. It forces them to sit with their fears rather than escape into distractions or false narratives. In Stoic relationships, this phase is critical. It strips away illusions and confronts both parties with reality as it truly is, not as they wish it to be. The fear they feel is not just about losing you. It is about losing control over their own narrative, their sense of security, and ultimately, their identity within the relationship. What does it mean when the foundation of a once familiar world begins to crumble? How do they reconcile the image of certainty they held with the stark silence that now fills the space? These questions provoke a reckoning that is as necessary as it is painful. Yet, it is also a moment of profound opportunity for growth, for clarity, and for transformation. On your side, this stage tests your resolve like never before. The urge to break the silence, to reach out just once, can feel overwhelming. But Stoicism teaches us that true freedom lies not in satisfying every impulse, but in mastering them. Your silence becomes an act of courage, a declaration of self-respect, and a boundary that honors your peace and value. By holding firm, you demonstrate that your worth is not contingent upon their validation or presence. The fear they experience is a reflection of their own attachments and dependencies, not a judgment on your value. This realization is the essence of Stoicism, understanding what is within your control and what is not, and finding tranquility amid uncertainty. Their fear is also a catalyst for change. It compels them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves, their expectations, and the dynamics that have shaped the relationship. They may begin to question their own behavior, their assumptions, and the way they have taken your presence for granted. This internal examination, though born of fear, can lead to greater self-awareness and ultimately a deeper appreciation of what was lost. But this can only happen if you maintain your silence. Any reaction from you at this point would risk resetting the cycle of chasing and proving, undermining the very power you have cultivated. Silence is not passive. It is an active force that reshapes minds and hearts in ways words often fail to achieve. It is a crucible where both parties are tested and transformed. As fear creeps in, it is vital to remember that this is not about winning or losing, but about embodying strength, dignity, and clarity. Your silence is a testament to your commitment to yourself and your growth, a beacon of stoic resilience in the face of emotional turbulence. The question remains, will you hold the line as fear rises and uncertainty deepens? Will you let silence do the work that noise never could? These days demand the highest level of discipline and self-mastery, the kind that defines Stoicism and Stoic relationships. As you navigate this phase, reflect on the nature of fear itself, how it can both imprison and liberate, how it reveals what we truly value, and how it calls us to grow beyond our attachments. The silence you maintain is not just absence, but a presence of strength, a force that rewires their mind by forcing them to face the reality of loss, the depth of their feelings, and the truth of their own hearts. This stage is perhaps the most challenging yet, the most transformative, a turning point where the seeds of regret, longing, and self-awareness are planted deep within their consciousness. It is here that your silence speaks the loudest, revealing truths that words could never capture. Will you embrace this moment with steadfastness and grace? Will you allow silence to be your ally in the pursuit of inner peace and authentic connection? These are the questions that define the path of Stoic relationships, where strength is found not in control, but in acceptance, not in noise, but in quiet resolve. The journey through fear is not a sign of weakness, but a passage toward deeper wisdom and freedom. Are you ready to walk this path? To hold the silence as a source of power and transformation? The choice is yours, and in that choice lies your true sovereignty. 6 days, 8 to 10, the spiral of dark imagination. As your silence extends into days 8 through 10, the initial waves of discomfort and fear evolve into a spiraling vortex of dark imagination in their mind, a psychological storm that intensifies and deepens with every passing moment. What began as subtle ripples and cracks has now transformed into a profound existential crisis where uncertainty no longer lingers at the edges but consumes their thoughts entirely. The human mind, when faced with the unknown, tends to fill the void with narratives often darker and more terrifying than reality itself. Have you ever stood at the edge of a dense forest at night, hearing rustling in the shadows, unable to see what lies beyond, and found your imagination painting scenes far more ominous than the truth? This is precisely the space they inhabit now, trapped in the dark forest of their own making. The silence you maintain is not just absence. It is the canvas on which their fears, regrets, and worst-case scenarios are projected. They no longer just wonder where you are or why you have disappeared. They begin to imagine the worst. Questions multiply and spiral. Are you with someone else? Did you ever care as much as they thought? Were they merely a chapter, a temporary role in your life? These thoughts churn relentlessly, amplifying their anxiety and pushing their mind into a spiral that is difficult to escape. The absence of your words forces their imagination into overdrive, crafting stories and scenarios designed to make sense of what cannot be understood. The unknown becomes a monster lurking in the shadows, a threat that looms larger with every unanswered call, every ignored message, every silent moment. In Stoicism, we are taught to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not, to accept the reality as it is without surrendering to the tyranny of fear and imagination. But for them, this distinction is blurred. The silence you hold is a mirror reflecting their own insecurities, a catalyst forcing them to confront the uncomfortable truth that they cannot control your presence or absence. This is a profound and transformative moment in the dynamic of Stoic relationships. Your silence, far from being a void, becomes a powerful force that rewires their mind by stripping away illusions and exposing raw vulnerability. Yet it is also a time of great challenge for you. The spiraling thoughts in their mind can echo in your own, tempting you to break the silence, to offer reassurance or explanations. But Stoicism demands that you remain steadfast, mastering your impulses and maintaining your boundary. The temptation to fill the silence is a test of your discipline and commitment to your own peace and self-worth. Each moment you hold your silence is an act of courage and clarity, a declaration that your value is not subject to their validation or fear. As the spiral deepens, they may attempt to distract themselves with work, social activities, or new connections, anything to silence the tormenting questions that your absence has ignited. But these distractions often provide only temporary relief. In the quiet moments, the silence returns louder than ever, forcing them to face the reality they have long avoided. The fear of being replaced, of losing something irreplaceable, drives their mind into overdrive, searching desperately for answers that your silence refuses to give. This is the paradox of absence. The more you withdraw, the more they are compelled to fill the void with thoughts and emotions that reveal their true feelings and priorities. It is here that Stoic relationships are truly tested. Will they rise from the spiral with greater self-awareness and respect for your boundaries, or will they retreat further into denial and avoidance? On your side, holding firm in this phase requires a level of inner strength that few cultivate. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from mastery of one's own mind and emotions. By embracing silence, you embody this freedom, showing that your worth is not dependent on the approval or presence of others, but grounded in your own integrity. The spiral of dark imagination is not a descent into despair, but a crucible for growth and transformation. It is a call to both parties to confront the realities of attachment, expectation, and self-worth. Your silence forces a reckoning that words alone could never achieve. As you navigate this phase, remember that the power of silence lies in its ability to expose truths, to invite reflection, and to create space for genuine connection to emerge, whether that means renewal, change, or peaceful separation. The choice to hold the silence through days 8 to 10 is an act of stoic courage, a testament to your commitment to self-respect and emotional resilience. Are you ready to let silence speak louder than any explanation? To trust in the process of transformation that it initiates? To embody the principles of Stoicism and Stoic relationships by mastering your own response amid uncertainty? These days mark the turning point where silence reveals its deepest power and demands the highest level of discipline. If this message resonates with you, if you see the profound strength in silence and the transformative potential it holds, I invite you to like this video and comment #1 if you find value in these insights. Don't forget to subscribe and join a community committed to mastering Stoicism and Stoic relationships, embracing silence as a path to inner freedom and authentic connection. Together, we'll continue this journey towards strength, clarity, and emotional mastery. In conclusion, the journey through silence, from the initial illusion of control to the spiraling depths of dark imagination, is a profound exploration of human psychology and emotional resilience that reveals the true nature of power in relationships. Silence, often misunderstood as weakness or indifference, emerges as a force of transformation, rewiring the mind of the other person by stripping away assumptions, provoking doubt, and ultimately exposing truths that words cannot capture. This path challenges both parties to confront their fears, their attachments, and their own worth without the distractions of constant noise and validation. For the one who holds the silence, it demands an extraordinary level of discipline, courage, and self-mastery, a steadfast commitment to Stoicism and the principles of Stoic relationships that prioritize inner strength over external approval. It is in this quiet resolve that true freedom is found, where presence is not measured by proximity or interaction, but by unwavering respect for oneself and the courage to stand firm amid uncertainty. The silence becomes a mirror reflecting not only the absence but the space for growth, clarity, and authentic connection. Whether the relationship ultimately transforms, renews, or peacefully dissolves, the lessons of silence endure as a testament to the power of Stoicism in guiding us toward emotional mastery and personal sovereignty. As you reflect on this journey, remember that your value is inherent and unshakable, not contingent on another's recognition, but rooted in your own integrity. To wield silence is to wield one of the strongest tools of human connection and self-respect, a force that rewires minds, reshapes narratives, and redefines the very dynamics of love and power. Embrace this truth, stand firm in your silence, and let it be the loudest message you ever send.